Hi everyone. Welcome to EC25 class. My name is Aria Chang, and I'll be your instructor for this summer class. And I'm really excited to work with you all this summer. But before we start today's actual lecture, I want to quickly go over some important course information and expectations. I hope you all checked course policies and syllabus. There are some important informations, like, so I wish you could like just go there and try to like check the dates and like all the like things over there. So, this course is fully online, and most materials will be posted on Moodle. Our regular Zoom class meetings are Monday and Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 9:45. Attendance is expected, but these Zoom meetings themselves are not mandatory for your grade. However, I highly, recommend attending because we'll go over like some examples, explanations, and problem solving strategies. And I'm pretty much sure that will, help you a lot with homeworks and exams. So, we're gonna use the textbook. I already posted the links of that. And also, we're gonna use Macmillan Achieve for this course. So please make sure you connect your Macmillan Achieve account as soon as possible. We'll use that for our homework assignments, quizzes, and some class materials, like something like that. So if you wait until, the last minutes to connect it, like sometimes like, like technical issues happens. So please try to set it up early as possible. Like that will gonna help a lot. And our grading policies are like this. So let's go from here first. So we're gonna have like 6 homework assignments throughout the semester. The good thing is we're using Achieve. So these are mostly learning-based assignments, which I really like. So meaning that if you complete them carefully, you can usually receive full credit. Late homework is accepted for up to 48 hours, but there will be a 10% penalty. And we'll also have like 3 quizzes, but the lowest quiz scores will gonna be dropped. So, like don't panic if one quiz doesn't go well, like there will gonna be like a lot of like different chances to make out. Um, and about the exams, so we have 2 midterms and one cumulative final exam. So midterms are not cumulative, thank God, right? But the final is cumulative and also mandatory, of course. Please make sure you check exam dates. I already wrote it down over here. So, and put them into your calendar now, rather than later. All right. And also the last thing I want to talk about is, like how to contact me. The best way to contact me is like through email. I usually respond within like 48 hours, although like typically often sooner. If you have any questions about like homework, lecture materials, grades, or like just economics in general, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm really happy to like talk with you all. And also my office hours are Thursday, 10:30 to 11:45. These are on Zoom, and you're always welcome to just like hop in. We'll be there like always on them. Have any questions? If we don't have any questions, let's hop into the actual course. So, um, today is like mainly going to be an introduction to economics and also, our first macroeconomics topic, which is GDP and GDP deflator. But before we start, let's just like talk about like what is economics? Like I just like want to say like economics is everywhere because like even if like you've never taken economics like as a course before, you already like make economic decisions every single day. Like for example, I'm suffering, but budgeting your money, but deciding like how to spend your time, like choosing between alternatives, and thinking about like trade-offs, like something like that. That's basically, like what economics studies. So throughout this course, I want you guys to focus not just like on memorizing some definitions, like or formulas, but on understanding like how economists like think about the word. And hope you enjoyed this course as well. So, yeah, this is like my first page of like this introduction. So, economics is the study of like how human makes decision in the face of like scarcity. Here, like scarcity means that human wants for goods, services, and resources exceed what is available. So, like, these are like one of the biggest ideas in economics, because scarcity actually means we always have like some limited resources, but we want unlimited amount, right? For example, like we have like limited time, we have like limited money or limited labor or limited more bigger like natural resources, like something like that. But people always like want more goods, services, and comfort, entertainment, and so on. And because like these resources are limited, society has to make some choices. And the slides list like a few possible ways to like deal with this scarcity. First, we're gonna be like, you know, first we're gonna be reduce the population. There might be like more ways of like, re-dividing like the resources. And the second one is like everyone gets less, which is kind of, like not ideal, I think. And maybe like we can change like what we use resources run out or like develop new technologies or use resources differently, like something like that. And economics are studying how individuals and societies make these choices. Like even simplest things will gonna be like, should I spend money on coffee or save it? That's also we can tell, an economic decision. So I know like this is online course and not a lot of you guys want to like talk, but can anyone think of like an example of like scarcity in college life? Any volunteers?
I feel like maybe football tickets because
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of hard to get them. So like you have to do a lottery and stuff, and not everybody can get them, but a lot of people want them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that is like one really good example of like scarcity. Like everyone wants it, but like like the amount of them is like limited, so like we have to deal with it. And like our school chooses to deal with that by lottery, which is like one way of like dealing with. We're gonna learn about like how to deal with it like typical way in economic sense. Thank you, Elizabeth. Um, yeah, so this slide introduces like two major branches of like economics. I believe you all heard about this before. So microeconomics looks at individual decision makers. So they more focus on like households, like workers, like each films, like consumers. Like for example, they kind of like focus on like why do the price change? Why do people buy more when prices fall? Or like how do films maximize their profit or something like that. And macroeconomics like looks at the economy as whole. So the topics we're gonna be include like some kind of like a little bit bigger, such as economic growth, unemployment, inflations, recessions, like trades, like something like that. So micro is like kind of like zooming in, and like macro is kind of like zooming out and like looking at the whole economy. And for the beginning of like this course, we are starting like with macroeconomics. And here is the thing, like I thought like this circular flow diagram is like really cool, so just like added. This diagram is like one of the most important basic models in like economics. You don't need to like know it will not gonna be tested, but very good to know, have some concepts about like what economics are studying. So the circular floor diagram shows like how household and like films interact in the goods and services market and in the labor market. And the direction of like arrows shows that like the goods and services market are kind of like how do they like receive and like, flows. So money and like resources like continuously flow throughout the economy. For example, like if you work part-time, maybe at Kabajo, and Kabajo pays you wages, then maybe you will gonna use that income to buy another thing, like for example, foods or clothes or pay rent or something like that. That money you earned like becomes an income for another businesses. So that is the like whole like idea of like this circular flow or flow diagram, which is kind of like real cool. And now we're gonna like learn about types of like economic systems. So there are three broad ways societies like organize economies. First one we're gonna be like traditional economies. Like these are based on like customs and traditions. Like for example, like historically, like many agriculture societies like worked in this way. Like you can imagine like some sort of like barter, like something like that. And second one is like command economies. And in these economies, like the government has a power. So they makes like the most, like most of like economic decisions. The government owns like resources like mostly and decided like what to produce, like, something like that. And lastly, like last one, we're gonna be like market economy. We heard about like this a lot. So in this market economies, like individuals and businesses like make decisions through the market. So like prices and supply demand like somewhat guide economic activities. So most of like economies in real world are mixed. They combine elements of like command, traditional, and like, market systems. And our US economy is mostly market oriented, but no real economy is like purely just one system. So this means like they combine elements of like market system and also government involvement, like such as like, taxes, like subsidies, like some kind of that, and some other traditional structures. So countries like differ in how much like government interventions they have. There are some nice arrow over there. You can just like check it out. And so, yeah, economies like exist on a spectrum, like rather than like just a fitting perfectly into like one, system or not. Um, these were kind of like introduction of like this class. We're gonna learn about like, like microeconomy and also like macroeconomics. We're gonna start from a macro and then go to like micro. So our first topic will gonna be GDP and GDP deflator. Um yeah, I added like class announcement. I already talked about it, but check the syllabus, course policies, and connect your account with Macmillan Learning. And homework one is due on May 27th, and watch videos for the class, like hopefully before the class. So yeah, let's just hop in. I thought I made something else. But yeah, so this is like definition of like GDP. Have you ever heard of like GDP before, like from the news or like wherever? Maybe. Cause like end of the year like there will gonna be like a lot of like newses. Oh yeah, like someone answered. Yeah, there will gonna be a lot of like newses. So GDP measures like total income of like everyone in the economy. Like the formal definition of GDP is in the box, green box. So GDP is the market value of all final goods and services produced within a country in a given period. This definition is like really important because like each words like stand for like some sort of like deeper meaning. We're gonna go one by one. So yeah. So first of all, GDP is the market value, which means that we value each product at its market price. So you are literally adding apples and oranges by their common unit, which is dollar in here. And this GDP values like each good according to its market price. So it's not kind of like nominal price or something else, like it is like market price. And the second thing is of all. Like you can just like think like all what is like the important of like word all over there, but with that of all means we will gonna include all goods and services. So we include not just like what you purchase for yourself from the market, but also what government purchases for you, like some sort of like vaccines, public educations, like road and bridge constructions, like national defense, like so on. But like one thing we do not include economic activity that occurs outside of the market. So if you wash your car yourself, your labor is not included in GDP. But if you take your car to the car wash, then that service will gonna be counted as the GDP. And the next one will gonna be final goods and services. That means we count only final goods and services, meaning that like we're gonna omit intermediate goods. There will gonna be like some sort of like intermediate goods in between like just raw thing to be to the like final goods, but we're gonna just like omit all of them. So the price of like final goods like incorporates all the like contributions to the like prior stages of like productions. So basically GDP does not count intermediate goods, like goods and services that are used as inputs in the production of like the other products. There will gonna be like some example questions like on like Macmillan as well. So like just like try to like look at it. And also, like we're gonna like read that see that produce. So that produce means we're gonna omit resale of already like purchased goods. So we're not gonna count like something like, already like purchased like before. GDP does not count like resale of like existing finished goods, like such as like, like secondhand sales, like merely change ownership of goods, like that type of stuff, like already been like produced and were previously counted in GDP, so we will not gonna add up. So yeah, like one good example will gonna be like if you buy a new car, like that purchase will gonna be like counted in GDP, but like, if you buy a used car, that will not gonna be counted as GDP. And almost done. So like we only consider the GDP within a country. So which means that include like all the goods purchased within the United States. So include like everything like produced like in workplaces like in United States. Like even if like the goods are made by foreign owned business or something, like even if like goods are sold to people outside the United States, like we're gonna like include like all of them. But we're gonna exclude like any goods like produced in other countries. So like that goods like that like just suppose like that goods like produced like in an American owned like factory in another country, like still we're gonna exclude it. And the last thing we're gonna be like in a given period, which means that we're gonna add up the flow of the output over a year, like over like certain like, period. So add up like all the activities like that occurred like during the given time period, we're gonna be like GDP. Hmm, hold on. Oh, yeah, so to summarize, like GDP is the market value of all final goods and services produced like within a country in a year. This is like formal definition of like GDP. The reason I'm spending like a lot of time on this one is this is like really very really really important to like memorize, not memorize but understand. So I wish y'all, understand what each word stand for, you know, that will gonna help you a lot. So, yeah, there are, mm, wait, okay. And there are two ways to like measure like GDP. First one will gonna be expenditure approach, which is like kind of like measuring GDP by like focusing on like money spent. And the second one is like income approach, which is focusing on like money earned. Like, and in I think in every economics, like this should be equal. And the reason is that because every dollar spent by someone becomes like, income for someone else. For example, like if you buy a coffee for $5, that $5 like just like becomes like revenue for the coffee shop, which then becomes like wages, rent, profit, like and so on go. So like total spending, like this is like very important, like key idea, like total spending equals with total income in the economy. Mm. And this is what I prepared for today. But from next class, we will gonna like try to learn like how to actually measure GDP by using expenditure approach and also income approach. and try to like solve some like probably example questions together. Just give you, you know, good understanding of it. And then probably we'll gonna hopefully we will gonna do like inflation a little bit as well. Do you have any questions for the class or any suggestions or yeah. If we don't have any questions, I just like wanted to know, tomorrow I have like office hour. You can just like individually come and like if you have any concerns about the class, like please let me know. Yeah, final exam we're gonna be online as well. Yeah, but it's just like cumulative online. We're gonna use like Moodle and probably there will gonna be yeah like 25 to like 30 questions. And I'm thinking of like most of like questions will gonna be on multiple choices. So it will gonna make you guys life way more better. That's how I feel. But yeah. So I believe like this course will not gonna be like super tight or something. I just like want you to like, follow the class, like, because our this summer class is like kind of like really tight, so it is really hard, to follow every day. I understand that. And if you have like any concerns, like, whatever, just let me know. And yeah, as today is like the first class, I didn't, you know, brought, I didn't bring a lot, but yeah, it was like really nice to see you all. Thank you for coming to class this early. And hopefully I'll see you on next Monday. Thank you.